Dear guests, thank you for choosing a holiday boat cruise in Hungary. In order to prepare you for operating the boat on your own, we would like to introduce you to the use of the holiday boat, its equipment and manoeuvring. We hope that no questions in connection with the vessel will remain unanswered. When taking over the boat, you will receive separate tutorials and training materials on the hydrographic conditions of the local bodies of water, boating rules and the navigation regulations. We hope that you will have a great experience and excellent weather too. The holiday boat team of the Hungarian shipping company Mahat welcomes you on board. Mahat's holiday boat fleet consists of 20 floating apartments equipped with all conveniences. The equipment and the operation is the same whether you book any of them, either from Kiskor or Tokaj, our two home ports. Following the check-in registration procedure, you can take over the boat equipment from our staff in the port of departure, based on a detailed list. The functions of the boats will be fully explained. You can enter the boats through the side entrance doors and through the rear railing gate. The boat's electrical circuits are switched on when the main power switch is turned. The three identical main switches are located behind the cover flap on the left side of the rear deck, next to the sliding door. The place of the switches is marked with a sticker. The switches for the boat's interior lighting and for the lights in the saloon and the cabins are located on the side walls. The lights in the corridor and in the cabins can be switched on with alternative switches or individually. The 230-volt sockets in the saloon and cabins can be used in the harbours if the boat is connected to the power supply on shore. During the trip, only a 12-volt cigarette lighter and the USB ports in the interior steering position are available. Each cabin has USB ports. The boat is equipped with a 230-volt electric refrigerator with a capacity of 220 litres, including a freezer. The fridge runs on both shore power and the boat's battery. Depending on which power source is used, the wall switch next to the fridge must be set to 1 or 2. In position 1, the refrigerator and the ignition of the gas stove are powered from the battery via an inverter. The purpose of the inverter is to produce 230 volts from the 12-volt voltage of the batteries. If the switch is turned to the right and set to position 2, the electricity for the fridge comes directly from the power connection on the shore. Of course, this only works in the harbours, where the boat can be connected to the shore electricity network. The boats will be handed over in the port of departure in this connected state, and the switch must be turned when you start your trip. The gas stove works in the same way as the kitchen appliances at home. When the knob is pushed in, sparks are produced on the cooking surface and the gas burner ignites. The oven can be used for normal and grill functions. When the stove is switched on, it consumes the oxygen of the passenger compartment and exhaust fumes are released into the air. Therefore, it is necessary to ventilate during usage. The gas system of the boat is operated by two 13-kilogram gas bottles, which are located in the storage compartments behind the side stairs of the deck. One gas bottle under the left stairs, the reserve bottle on the right side. The upper and lower vents of these storage spaces are not to be covered or blocked under any circumstances. The 1,000-litre fresh water tank is located at the lowest point of the boat, in the keel. The boat is handed over with a full water tank. If the tank becomes empty after a few days, it can be refilled in the port. The connection for refilling drinking water is located on the left side of the boat. The opening key for the water tank will be handed over during takeover. The water system is operated by a pressure pump and a water pressure tank. The switch for the water pressure pump is located on the right side of the interior steering position. It must be switched on to keep the taps running or to flush the toilet. The water from the tap is suitable for cooking, washing dishes, washing and showering, but we do not recommend drinking it. The electrically operated toilet with automatic flushing works with the push of a button. The button can be found on the side of the sink and it initiates flushing and vacuuming the contents. Nothing can be thrown into the toilet, even toilet paper must be disposed of separately in the hygiene waste bin. The boats have a CE certified waste water tank for the collection of organic waste. Emptying the wastewater tank is the task of the home port staff between trips. For cooler nights in spring and autumn, the boat has a heating system with a hot air blower. The Webasto heater receives its fuel from the boat's fuel tank. The fully automatic heating system works with diesel. In the Octo and Sixto boats, the control panel is located on the left side of the dashboard. In the Quattro, it is on the side of the interior steering seat, in both cases under the radio. The system is switched on by a small white push button. If you want to heat, press the button firmly once. After that, a little patience is required. The process is initiated, the system does everything automatically, and heating begins within 5 minutes. The intensity of the warm air supply and the temperature can be adjusted by a rotary switch. The blower openings can be found below at floor level in the saloon, in the cabins and in the corridor. The thermostat is located under the control panel in the saloon. In the saloon, a television, a radio and a fan guarantee the comfort and entertainment of the passengers. On the dashboard there is also a cigarette lighter and 2 USB ports. The curtains in the saloon are excellent for shading, but if you want to enjoy the view, they can be drawn to the side. The curtains can be tied back and fastened with snap studs. By removing the tabletop, additional sleeping berths can be created in the saloon. After the aluminium legs are taken out, the tabletop is to be placed in the designated frame with the extra mattress on top of it. To put the saloon table back, the extra mattress must be removed, and after the support legs have been inserted, the tabletop can be put back in place. Before you set off on your trip, check the compulsory and safety equipment. Depending on the size of the boat, 1 or 2 lifebuoys are attached to the railing of the rear deck. A lifebuoy also includes 30 meters of orange-colored floating rope. The lifebuoys can be released easily, but they are not toys and should exclusively be used for rescue measures from the water. There are also 2 boat hooks on board. The hooks with decimeter division can be used in many different ways. They can be applied to pick objects out of the water, to measure the depth of the water, and, during mooring, to keep a distance from the landing stage and other boats. Check the fenders around the side of the boat. Count the life jackets in the boat. Depending on the size of the boat, 6, 8 or 10 life jackets for adults and 4 life jackets for children are part of the basic security equipment. Of course, if there are more kids on board, children's life jackets will be provided in the appropriate number, as it is compulsory for persons under the age of 14 to wear them on board. The life jackets can be found in the storage compartments below the seats in the saloon, where there are stickers indicating this. Life jackets should not be used as beach toys. Check if the fire extinguishers are in their place. Depending on the size of the boat, 1 or 2 fire extinguishers of 6 kilograms belong to the standard equipment. When the boat is handed over, you will be informed about the positions of the fire extinguishers and how they work. Fire extinguishers can be found in the saloon next to the refrigerator. The location of the fire extinguishers is also marked with stickers. The flashlight and the black ball for signalising a stationary boat can be found under the seat at the internal steering position. In the storage room of the boat, there is a plastic box in which you can load items. There you will find a bucket, a spare rope and spare fenders for mooring. A spare anchor and a pair of oars are also included as compulsory equipment in the boat. The storage box can hold various items. Travel bags and suitcases can be stored here in a dry place without high humidity. When accessing the storage compartments, the lid lifted out of the floor should not be put against the refrigerator, but leant against the stove. The standard first aid kit is placed in a clearly visible and accessible place on top of the refrigerator behind the television. Familiarise yourself with the instruments and switches on the dashboard of the interior steering position. The instrument on the left side is the engine tachometer, in the lower part is the engine hour meter. When the boat is handed over, the meter readings are noted, as at the end of the trip the fuel consumption is calculated and paid for on the basis of the difference. The water tank level indicator shows how much water is in the tank. The boat will be handed over with a full water tank. The battery level indicator shows if the batteries have been charged correctly during the trip. The instrument for the engine cooling water must show a value around 80 degrees Celsius. If the cooling water is too hot, a whistle will sound as a warning. When the signal is given, you should slow down and notify the home port immediately. The fuel level indicator must show a full tank when taking over the boat. Refueling is carried out by our staff at the port of departure. The rudder angle indicator is a very useful instrument when manoeuvring in the harbour and in narrow places, because the person navigating the boat can see the position of the rudder. The last small, round instrument shows the level of the waste water tanks. The ignition switch is on the right side of the corner of the dashboard. The ignition key is to be inserted here. The black button next to it is for preheating and starting. On the far right side you will find the push button at the boat's horn. By the window on the right side next to the dashboard is the switch for the windscreen wipers. They ensure the navigator has the best possible view from the inside steering position in rainy weather. The boat is equipped with a 2-stage thermofan, which enables dehumidification of the windscreen when the engine is running. By operating it, the saloon can be heated even while on the move. The heat exchanger uses the cooling water from the engine. While cruising, the dehumidification system allows you to heat the saloon without using energy on board. Holiday boats may not be navigated at night, but one needs to know the function and meaning of the navigation lights. The navigation lights can be turned on by means of a labelled switch next to the interior steering position. The left side of the boat in the direction of travel is marked with red lights, while green lights are carried on the right side. The stern light and the masthead light are white. At the highest point of the boat is the anchor light, a white light that shines in 360 degrees. This has to be used when mooring to a buoy and when anchoring at night and in poor visibility conditions. Their switches are also located in the inside steering position next to the right side window. Our boats are also equipped with 2 headlights that shine to the front. Their switch is located next to the sign for external lights, in a row with the switches for the navigation lights and the anchor light. The boat's built-in diesel engine is started by turning the ignition key and pressing the start button. At the inside steering position, the key must be inserted into the ignition switch. Turning it to the right triggers the ignition. For preheating, the black start button next to the ignition switch must be pressed halfway in for about 6 to 8 seconds. The engine starts when the button is fully pressed. When preheating, you will hear a beeping sound and the yellow preheating lamp on the dashboard will light up as a feedback signal. While the engine is running, check the main instruments and their displays: the fuel level, the battery charging feedback, the level of the water and waste water tanks. After starting it, let the engine run and warm up. This takes around 1 or 2 minutes. When idling, you can rev up the engine by moving the throttle or control lever strongly to the right towards the side window and then gently push it forwards. In this case, the drive unit will not run and the propeller will not turn either. While doing this, pay attention to the tachometer on the dashboard. To test the drive, move the control lever slightly forward until the first click and then back to the neutral position. Move it slowly backward and then back to the neutral position again. When you change and engage a gear, the hull vibrates slightly. Before departure, check the function of the control unit. Turn the wheel in both directions while watching the rudder angle indicator on the dashboard. Set the bow thruster, which serves as a manoeuvring aid, to standby mode. The bow thruster is an important tool when manoeuvring in the port. As the name suggests, by means of the thruster, the bow of the boat can be steered to the right or the left, depending on the direction you wish to take. It is not recommended to keep the bow thruster running continuously for more than 10 seconds. It is not intended to replace the steering system, but to make manoeuvring easier. If not absolutely necessary, its use should be avoided. The bow thruster is switched on by pressing 2 buttons simultaneously. This activates the bow thruster. The arrows show the steering direction. The red arrow turns the bow to the left, the green arrow to the right. When testing, you should very briefly try both directions. The departure should be carried out in cooperation. First, release the spring lines, then the stern lines, and finally the bow lines. Meanwhile, the boat driver steers from the upper or inside steering position and operates the throttle. When setting off, the boat should be pushed away from the landing stage before stepping on board. From the boat, you can push yourself further away from the shore by using the boat hooks. This will make the departure easier and is a great help for the driver. Be careful that the mooring ropes do not get into the water or under the boat. Pick them up as quickly as possible and put them in a safe place. While cruising, the two side doors and the rear railing must be closed and locked. The two railing gates on the rear deck can be opened for your convenience when having a dip or getting out of the boat. On the rear deck on the left side, there is an outdoor cockpit shower with hot and cold water. It is an additional option to the showers inside the boat. In the stern on the right side, there is a folding swim ladder to be used for climbing back on board if you fall into the water or go swimming. A sliding sunroof is installed on the rear deck. It is a loosely woven plastic net to protect against falling leaves and strong sunlight. The bimini top is a foldable sun and rain cover that spans the upper deck. It can be latched down to the side railing of the boat with straps. It is easy to apply and its use is demonstrated when you take over the boat. Our boats turn easily. The use of the bow thruster is not needed to turn on the river. It is important that you look around carefully and reduce the speed before starting any maneuvers. Make sure that the maneuver can be carried out safely and that no other boats are approaching from the front or the back. It is more difficult to maneuver in reverse. In order for the boat to go astern, you will need to accelerate more. By using the throttle lever and small steering movements, the boat can be held in direction. The bow thruster makes maneuvering easier. It is forbidden to put the holiday boats at anchor. However, in case of emergency, it may happen that the anchor has to be used after all. The main anchor with the necessary chain length is part of the obligatory equipment of the boat, and it is located in the anchor locker in the front of the boat. The end of the chain is attached to the boat. Use the anchor only in a case of emergency and notify the base port immediately. In the rear storage compartment is the emergency tiller, which is used for steering in emergency. The red-coloured rod is to be used if the boat's hydraulic steering system fails. The emergency tiller is to be taken out of its place by a strong pull and positioned at the end of the steering shaft. Notify the base immediately and then head to a port as quickly as possible where the necessary repairs can be carried out. Holiday boats are forbidden to cruise at night and in bad visibility conditions. Therefore, it is important to moor before evening dusk. For the operation of the holiday boat, one must learn to tie two basic knots. The first knot is used for securing the rope to cleats. It is used when mooring the boat. The other one is the easily detachable bow line, which can be used when mooring, extending ropes, towing, or tying an anchor knot. On flowing waters, mooring maneuvers or entering river branches must always be carried out from below, upstream. You float downstream past the landing stage, turn around and, for safety reasons, approach the landing stage from below. The maneuvers in the port are also influenced by the wind direction and the wind intensity. Onshore winds make it more difficult to set off, while onshore winds make docking more difficult. Mooring maneuvers should always be carried out carefully, with small forward and backward throttle thrusts. If the landing stage has been closely approached, the boat can be brought to a halt with a slight reverse thrust. If necessary, you can also use the bow thruster. It is no problem if a maneuver does not succeed the first time. The lines for mooring must always be prepared. What is meant by preparation? One end of the line must be attached to the cleats of the boat. The line cannot be tangled. It must be ready for use and is routed under the railing. When the boat is next to the landing stage or close enough to it, you should step out from the rear deck with the prepared line, pull the boat to shore and quickly fasten it with the bow and stern lines. Diagonal spring lines can be used to make mooring even safer. Make sure that the boat is not tied against the landing stage but held loosely and parallel to it. The lines of the boat have the prescribed length, they must not be cut. Immediately after docking, check that the fenders are in the correct positions between the hull and the landing stage. If necessary, the reserve fender should be used too. It can be fastened to the boat's railing or to a cleat. To stop the engine, the control lever should first be pulled to the neutral position in the middle. Then, the ignition key in the inside steering position is to be turned left to the initial vertical position. The engine will stop immediately. The engine can also be switched off from the upper steering position by using the stop button. But in that case, a beeping signal will sound until the ignition key is turned to the vertical position in the interior steering position. It is also possible to start the engine from both steering positions after the ignition has been initiated by using the key in the inside steering position. If you leave the boat, even for a short time, you should take precautions against possible gusts of wind and rainfall. The windows should be closed, the sunroof folded up, the chairs stored on the rear deck, and the sunbed cushions brought back inside. The entrance door should be closed with the key. Bicycles can be chained to the railing on the rear deck. When the boat is out of service, the electrical circuits must be switched off by the 3 main switches at the entrance. The bilge pumps will remain functional even in this case, and will continue to operate without interruption in the event of water intrusion. An important piece of equipment is the gangway in the rear storage compartment. This aluminium platform can be used if the landing area is not constructed. Taken out of the storage space and fitted in its place, it provides a safe crossing for passengers to the shore. In ports and landing stages with electricity from the shore, the boat should always be connected to the 230-volt network. After arrival, in order to avoid accidents, the electrical charging cable should be connected to the socket on the boat first and then to the socket on shore. When starting or continuing the trip, the cable first must be disconnected from the socket on the shore and only then from the socket on the boat. If you do not use the electric charging cable, it should be rolled up and put away. It belongs to the inventory of the boat. We sincerely hope that your boating holiday will be an unforgettable experience, whether you spend it relaxing in the sun or actively exploring the region and the nature. You will return to the port of departure as an experienced navigator. We will always be delighted to welcome you for new experiences on board our holiday boats.